Hi everyone, it's me, the Booknester, and I thought today that maybe I would do a check-in. Now, I have already done a review of my book journal as I was doing it last year, and I've made a change and actually put it in its own spiral notebook. And so I thought I'd go over and just kind of show you where I'm at and show you my book journal for this year. It's starting in 2017, and it's going to hold all the books that I've read, both the ones that I've physically read and those that I've listened to on audiobook. But I thought at the same time I'd also do a check-in with you because I am doing a couple different challenges. So one of them is the PopSugar reading challenge, and I've created how I'm keeping track of that, and I thought I'd share that with you as well. And then the other one that I'm doing is is called Winter Bingo, and I was going to share my update with that as well. Now the Winter Bingo goes through the March 20th because 21st is the first day of spring. Doing pretty well. I've got a couple books I need to get finished, but I thought I would kind of put these all together because these are my journals and my way of tracking. Some are in my planner and some are in a spiral all by itself. But I thought I'd share that, and I would love to hear how you track things. And I'd love to see more videos on people's journals if they do use it, particularly the things they might be pulling out. So I hope you enjoy it. And I'll probably do a recap again whenever we get done with my spring bingo as well, and get kind of each quarter maybe pop in and have a discussion about where I'm at on my PopSugar challenge and also where I'm at with my bingos and my book journal. So let's start with my challenges. And of many I have challenges, that is, but today we're going to talk about my first one, which is this. This is how I keep track of a winter challenge. So this is on a Goodreads group, and I'll put it down below, where they do a lot of different challenges, but this has been my favorite. It is a seasonal bingo. So it's a classic bingo where you have, B in 5 spaces, I, and of course you can do this any way you want. Now, some really adventurous readers out there and people that are much quicker readers than I am, they actually get a complete blackout. Now me, I'm just looking for one straight across. So let's just take a quick look at it. Each one of these has a different group. So it's not necessarily that it's based on the winter season, but it's just called Winter Bingo because you have the full season to complete it. And that's why I really like this bingo, because I have from December 21st until March 20th to get this winter bingo completed. And I find that works really well for my reading style. So let's just take a little look. I've created this little grid pattern for me so that I have a nice place I can keep track. The first thing you'll see is that it's got each of the different things that you're trying to read. So maybe you're trying to read a book that's considered a classic or with magic realism in it. You have your typical free space. Now what I'm doing is not only tracking ones that fit with this, but also I'm tracking over here how I read the book. So if it was on my TBR, which is to indicate I have it on a physical shelf here in my home and have not read it, because that is a focus I'm trying to make sure I keep up in front of my face, is that I need to be reading my own darn books. The next one is the green, which is from the library. And this is where the majority of my books have been coming, particularly the last couple years, but I'm hoping maybe we'll see a little bit more orange. The next one is on my Kindle. So again, I have a whole shelf on my Kindle full of books, and I need to start reading them. And then the last one is my audiobooks. And I love audiobooks. I usually always try to have one going, and I also like doing that very seasonal. So when you look over here, if you looked at the one that I did for published 2016, it's The Last Days of Night, so I write the title in there once, and I've done it in ink, and then I color it to color code, so that obviously came from the library. And that's basically it. Now, something I do is that everything is done in pen except for my suggested reading. So when I start looking at the reading I'm going to do, I like to know where it might fit in. And so in this case, I have magical realism, and it'd be great if I could get this all done straight across by March 21st, because that'd be a bingo. And in pencil, I've got written The Master and Margarita. So that's something that I'm reading currently. And so I'm hoping when I finish that will be able to fit in there. There's a couple other places it might fit. So another place I'm looking for possible bingo is here. I'm just missing a personal improvement. I did start to read one book, but just was not a big fan of it, so I still need one for that. But over here I've got a couple different ones. So like for a blue cover, I put in Burial Rites. For the classics, I put The Winter of Our Discontent. So that way I can kind of see where I'm at. But I love this because it's color coded, it's a way to track, and it's fun if you get a bingo. And a lot of times I can then store this in my book journal, which is always kind of fun. On to my next challenge. So this one, notice that I keep them all in my planner now. I keep them in my weekly planner, this Moleskine weekly planner, because I carry this with me everywhere. My Fobonichi doesn't even go every place with me, but this one does. And you never know when you're at the library if you're looking for a book that might fit one of the challenges. And it just keeps in mind also the books that I'm looking for. I might be looking for at the library, or I might be looking whenever to actually buy. So here's the PopSugar. Now it's pretty large, as you can see, but that's because there's 40 challenges in PopSugar. And I'm doing the exact same thing. I tried to keep, this is the color coding is new this year, and so I'm continuing on my physical TBR shelf, at the library, Kindle, and my audiobooks. Yes, I have found a way to add coloring into tracking of my books because I love to color. So as you can see, I have 4 books that have fit in these challenges, but if you look really closely, there's a lot that I have written in. So these are books either that I own or plan to read this year and where they would fall. And so when I get to that book, I know where it can go, or if I want another suggestion of a book, I've already got some of them. So that's been very, very helpful. So right now I've only gotten 4 out of the 40. So which isn't bad because 4 every month is a total of 48 books, right? Well, I need to get a move on though. There's still some, but almost every book fits this challenge as well. I have, in addition, because PopSugar is so nice and likes to add on, they put for the plus, like in addition to, if you want, I have my bonus reads. Now, this is not something I'm focusing on. I'm really focusing on the PopSugar, but you never know. Maybe I'll get 50 books done. Probably not. But anyway, definitely because not all the books I'm reading are going to fall onto either one of these lists. So I'm really just focusing on the 40 of the original PopSugar. Now last year I did a couple other challenges as well, but I'm trying to keep it to just this. My Winter Bingo and my PopSugar. Now, here is where I keep my list. I think I've mentioned this before of what all I'm going to read in February. And this is nice to have because it's in front of me at all times and it helps me stay on track. I've added things like even what I was going to color so that I don't forget the ideas that I had or that I was thinking I wanted to. And then I also track here, as it says, where it says TBR and PS17. So A Natural History of Dragons is on my personal bookshelf, my TBR, and then the PS17 is, of course, it also is for the PopSugar 17. So if I go down to Noughts and Crosses, which I don't know that I'm going to get to this month because I misjudged what it was about, but it still sounds like a very interesting book, it's going to go for my own personal BBC Big Read Challenge. And then it also, I was able to pick this up from the library. It tells me where to go get it from, and that it also works on my PopSugar, and it's going to be for number 5. So keeping that all there keeps me focused on my challenges. And the reason I do the challenges is because I like seeing the different, if I can fill those squares, to be honest with you, I guess that's what it is. And it does get me to read out of my comfort zone and out of my normal. And sometimes it's a good thing and sometimes it's not, but it's still a way to expand my reading. So once I've read a book, what happens? Well, I am an incessant note taker, and I've really jumped it up a lot in the last couple years. And I have to tell you, it's fantastic because it helps me remember a book like you wouldn't remember. So originally, last year, I did my book journaling video, and I was keeping it in my bullet journal, and I really liked having it. However, it wasn't enough room. And because I'm going to the Fobonichi and not doing a bullet journal this year, because I'm looking for an all-in-one planner that also I can do my work with, I needed a new spot. So these are one of my favorite spirals of all time that I ever found. This is something called the Series W3 Spiral Computation Notebook. Yes, order these online. I will try to link down below through Amazon. They are scientific notebooks, and let me just show you. Yeah, if you are a grid lover like myself, yes, wow. You have tiny little squares inside tiny squares. Yay! What also is great about this is when you turn the page over, you have notebook paper. So the paper is a little bit heavy, which is nice. It's perforated, you could pull it out. It has a place to write for your title, your project number, and it also has what number it is. This is a dream book journal for me. It is an 8.5 by 11. Actually, it might be just a slightly bigger spiral. And I love the spiral here because this keeps everything nice and tight and you don't have things floating around. So, first thing is when I open it up that I love about it, it has a user index. So again, that bullet journal, that indexing, and it goes for each page. So of course, if this was for scientific notes and stuff, you'd be noting what that is, but that's not what I'm using it for. I'm using it for book reviews for myself. And as I go through it and add the books, then I can put them here in the index. And then I'm going to have at least one spiral for 2017, because this does have 66 pages. It might go into 2018, who knows. That will have at least probably, I'd say 50 books in it. And there's a reason why, well, actually it'll have more than that, but you'll see. So on page 1, if I look at that, I have the last days of night. Now I started this in January, and these are all my notes. These are quotes that I love about it. I've done a very light light bulb because it's all about the light bulb. And then I've also noted that 00 number 1, and that way I will be able to coordinate it with my index because it's on page 1, so as well. I've put when I read it, so from 12/19 to 1/1/2017. And then I put down things like published date, what type is it, historical fiction, where it takes place. I love writing down key characters so that I remember them. And then I always put in the first sentence of the books at the top, and then the rest are things that I noted and liked about it. Sometimes there's something I thought was really, really cool that I wanted to put, and I put a little goal. Here, every once in a while, I use my little handy-dandy, they're magnifying glasses, but I call them my research stickers, which is something that maybe I want to go look that up. You know, it's been a wonderful place for me able to write and be able to keep all these quotes. But that isn't it. There's still more, because when you turn it over on this side, I can continue. These are my thoughts while I read. I like to put this up there. So when you were reading along, you're like, I wonder if that's real, or wow, it seems like this is a theme that's developing or anything. I can quickly jot it down here, which I really like. And then finally you get down here and I'll do a little written review for myself. Now this helps me even get my Goodreads thoughts in order, which I like, because I still do some reviews on Goodreads, but this is my personal views. I don't have to worry about offending anybody here. This is almost like a personal diary. If I really don't like something, I can be brutally honest here and know that the only people that are reading it are probably my family, because they've found my journal for some reason. And I'm not going to offend anybody and get really ugly, nasty hate mail. So as we go through, you can see I've continued on, and now I have Mr. Churchill's Secretary novel. Great book. Did a short little review on that. KPO, which cracks me up, I did not know this, is keep plodding on. And according to history, at least the history that I've learned a little bit, that was a phrase of Winston Churchill. So the keep calm and carry on type, that's obviously the very public version, but his own version is you keep plodding on, KPO. So I really, really love that. And then again, here we go with my notes. Things that made me go, things to go look up. And I like this because I'm telling you, I come back to this page, and between all these quotes, which typically go in order of the story because that's how they get written down, actually helps me remember this story so much better. And that was something I was missing. I've read a lot of books over my life, but I don't remember a lot of books. Great reason for journaling. Now this is the part where I was saying I wasn't sure how many books are going to be actually in this. It won't be 66, it might be more. One of the things I love to do, as I've told you before, is I love audiobooks. And this audiobook here is my audiobook tracking, because I can't do and write down and get quotes out of it. But I want to remember these books too, because some of them might be books that I actually want to purchase at some point. But I like putting my star ratings, I like putting, you know, who narrated it, because I catch myself really liking some narrators and going and getting books because of that. And then I put how I discovered this book, and that's something that I've done in the other ones too. You know, did I find it through BookTube? Did I find it from one author to the other? Was it something I just happened upon at the library? You know, I like to know, why did I ever even pick this book up? And then a little note about kind of what the story is, and just really brief. But as you can see, there's 2 already on here, and I'm already starting on my 3rd book listening to. So it's one of those things where I want to be able to put them in here, but because I won't have tons of notes about them, they will work on these little note cards, so to speak, things that I'll have for each one of these pages. And then here's burial rites. Now something you might notice, and I've been doing this since I had my other book journal even, is I kind of try to mimic what's going on the book cover. So this is just a little sketch behind a burial rites of the picture of the woman that was on it. Now, burial rites was not one of my favorite books of all time. It was a meh read. But you can tell I still got quite a few little quotes, and I got some things that I wanted to look at, something I learned, something I want to go research a little bit more, and then of course I'm able to put my views here on the back page. So most recently I finished The Winter of Our Discontent, and so here I have the book just so that I can kind of show you. So let's see if we can get this in shot so that you can, oh, probably should turn it right side. Okay, there it is. Sorry about that. The Winter of Our Discontent. So if you can see right down here, this is a little sketch of the fictitious town that it's set in. And notice also how it's done here. So when I went to do this, and I'm going to lift this up so that you can see it, hopefully. All right, let's see. Yeah. All right. Ooh, I am really bad at this. All right, can you see where I have the Winter of Discontent? And I actually have where I hand drew my own little village. Again, these are things to help me remember about the book. Now, granted, I own this book and probably will keep it for a while because I did enjoy the story in it and might even reread it in one sitting at some point. But it's nice to have those references, because I am both a visual, as you can tell, visual learner, and a tactile learner, in that I need to write these things down. And when I go to write them down, that helps me remember that particular quote and that part of the story. Again, if I read through this, I could almost follow the story through it. I ran out of room with beautiful quotes on this one, even had to come over here to the back. Have not even been able to write in my review of it, just because there's so many things that I've wanted to remember. So, and now I've started Noughts and Crosses, but I'm going to have to pause that one. And this was another thing that was happening in the bullet journal. So I was going to, so if I started reading a book but didn't keep reading it, decide to pick something else up, and for now I'm going to pick something else up, I now have a perfectly saved page from where I have even started. I've already gotten some thoughts from the little bit that I read, and I can reference back to that, and it stays put in my journal. Whereas with a bullet journal, I've moved on so far and may even be in another journal by the time that I get back to this book, that I was worried about losing where my information was going to be. So I will move on to the book that I'm reading now, and that will go on here, and I'll start putting my notes. But this allows at least one page, and again, it's like 8.5 by 11, so it's quite fantastic in its size. So this is my book journal. I have 66 pages in it. I hope to keep going and fill it up. I'd love to fill it up by the end of the year, but I don't know that that is what's going to happen. And I'm still trying to decide what I might do on the cover. There's some places here, of course, for you to write and everything more scientific, so maybe I'll keep it very simple and do that. And then, of course, I do need to get caught up most likely with my indexing, because I haven't indexed anything, but you know, I can do that at any time. So those are my journals and my challenges and where I'm at for this first quarter of 2017. I might pop in and show you some more later and see how I'm filling out this journal. So Thank you very much for watching. I hope you found something of interest, and I would love to hear more about your journaling and how you do it and any challenges and how you keep track with them. Always looking to learn something. Keep those pages turning.